Welcome to She Loves the Grid, where we discuss all things F1. Whether it's happening on the track, in the paddock, or beyond the grid, we'll talk about it all. And here we are in a new location. Welcome back to She Loves the Grid. Hi, this is Claire and Dianne and Scooby. For anyone watching, we have a guest star today.
Yes.
All right, so it has been an interesting, not big news week, but ramping up for the race. So I guess it's time to just get through it all.
Yes, I know. Where do we begin?
I don't know. Well, I have it with Haas. So we have rumors that Behrman is going to. There's a rumor. I guess it's pretty confirmed. He's going to be FP1 this week.
So we knew he was going to drive several practices for Haas this year, and this is one of their regularly planned opportunities for him to.
Or a rookie has to drive, because as people are might be new, every year 2 sessions have to be driven by a rookie.
Yes.
Yeah.
But he's not a rookie because he actually raced.
That's true.
But they already knew. I mean, the rumors are that he's going to Haas for next year, that he's going to be signed. We already know that Nico has signed with Sauber for next year. And the rumors this week are that Kevin is not going to stay with Haas. And it's looking more and more like Ollie and Zhou.
Joe, like that came out of left field.
That totally came out of left field.
Did not expect that at all. But
I'm excited about it because we've talked about Joe a lot when he was at China.
Yep.
And just that, I mean, going
he's
to
got
Haas,
so much momentum. I hate that he's had such a horrible car.
Well, and I mean, I was just going to say, going to Haas doesn't necessarily put him in that much of a better car, but we've said a few times, like, he hasn't really been able to show maybe what he can do. And
Sure.
So for him to leave F1 now
would not be good.
I mean, how disappointing. Like,
he
never got to show.
I just feel like Cave Mag is kind of over it and is ready to go.
I just think that Cave Mag, like, what does he do?
I mean, yeah, he's just, other than 4 points. The only other thing I have down for Haas is that we already knew that Gunther was suing Haas about his release and all of that happened, but then it came out that the team is now suing him over copyright infringements of stuff in his book. And I know you pulled your copy of the book out today.
I should have pulled it out. I'll pull it out right now.
And it's interesting because of what it says, because it clearly states
it does have all over. If you haven't seen the book, so it does have a Haas on the front and it's on the back and there's photos, but
there's that statement
back. It does say picture acknowledgments, just talking about the pictures, and all photographs supplied courtesy of Haas F1 team with the following exceptions. And they list on page 1. There's several different exceptions, and then there's 2 other instances.
I don't understand. Like, why would you have those acknowledgments in there if you had not got some kind of permission?
Yeah, and they're saying. Their exceptions because every effort was made to contact and acknowledge copyright holders. So it's like different photographers or Getty Images. And so they tried. But yeah, all the pictures. And I mean, the whole book is about that year in Haas. So, I mean, every picture, well, not those.
But I wonder if it's because he talks about Haas. I don't know.
It's like, it'll be Haas everywhere. Haas. Every picture's Haas. So it will be interesting, and I'm very curious as to what their reasoning is.
Yeah. It's going to be interesting.
Yeah.
Well, let's talk about Sauber, because we talked about Joe leaving Sauber. We talked last week about they've signed Nico, right? So he's definite for next year. They've had a lot of they talked about this week, because we talked about all their problems with pit stops. So I got a couple of quotes.
Oh.
So it came from Aluni Bravi, and he is their team representative, Alessandro Aluni Bravi. And he revealed that there was important upgrades. He explained, quote, "We have important upgrades in Imola, not only concerning our pit stop, because we will have all new parts to ultimately fix the problem with pit stops. Then we will have important upgrades coming for Imola. So I think that will determine the next 3 or 4 races and possibly score points or not."
Ooh, I mean, they've kind of been on the verge where it's like you just think they're going to score
Yeah.
points, and then something happens where it's not. Sometimes not their fault. Sometimes it is their fault. The pit stops totally is their fault.
No.
Is this Alessandro the one that came from a team recently? And I was like,
I think
the
so.
first point
Yeah, I think
of
so.
business for him is to figure out those pit stops. So good. Okay, well,
So yeah, we'll see what happens with
Fingers
that. So that's
crossed.
the biggest thing I could find with them in the news, other than Botas being Botas, just being hysterical. There was one, I forget the video I saw him doing. He was just being just a riot. So anyway,
well, he's been in California this week racing on his bike.
Yeah.
He and Tiffany. So
okay,
never a dull
Williams.
moment.
Williams, we've been talking about this, and then
Williams.
the whole thing about Kimmy and trying to get his license, and even Max came out saying something about they started this requirement of the points and all that because of him, and he really felt that if a driver had 20 points and was fast, even if they were 17 or 18, they should be allowed in. So there's a lot of talk about that, but Vols doubled down in a recent quote that said there's no doubt that he, meaning Kimmy, has got skill to him, but he was in Formula 4 car 20 months ago.
Yeah.
It's not that long, and that's where he is. It's a very different proposition to most. We've been talking to 4 or 5 drivers at the moment for that period of time, so he's quite happy to sit back a bit and wait.
I mean, why not?
So he's doubling down that Logan is in the seat, and I would think Logan's in the seat this week because they just did this thing right now. Tomorrow, for those who are listening, we're recording on Monday, so this will release Tuesday. So today, the day of the release, if you're listening the day of release, the 14th of May on the BBC American AMC, there's going to be Lap of Legends.
Lap
so
of
a
Legends,
real race
yeah.
versus a VR race, which is it's the first of
don't
its
know how
kind.
that
So we don't know what it
works.
is.
I don't know if it's a real. It says it's a real course, but it's AI
They're going
virtual with AI.
Yeah, I think they're going to take the
I don't
legend
understand
drivers and play VR them on top of Logan actually racing. Though he was out at Silverstone recording this week and prep for that.
Oh.
So I don't know, but the legends really exciting. Mario Andretti, Nigel Mansell, Alan Frost, Damon Hill, Jacques. I'm going to really screw up his last name.
Villeneuve.
Thank you. And Jensen Button.
Yeah. I mean,
That's exciting.
That's a very great lineup, but also
Yeah, it's weird, but
it makes me wonder, are we going to keep? I mean, maybe they won't get rid of Logan middle of the year.
Yeah.
For sure, it's not happening for Imola. For sure, that's not a thing.
Yeah.
But
no,
it'll be very, very interesting.
But nothing much more. It's been kind of a quiet week across them all,
I still don't know why, though, they would ask for an exception last week or whenever it was for Kimmy to have that exception to race before he's 18 when he turns 18 in 4 months. It's just is something planning on happening? Did they just want to do it just in case?
Yeah, I don't understand because it's not
why wouldn't you just wait 4 months?
Yeah, because couldn't they have him still out there testing cars and whatnot, unless they want to bring him in as a reserve driver?
I mean, Mick's already doing that role,
true.
so
I don't know. It's really weird.
Yeah, very strange.
All right. Speaking of people who are looking and whatnot, others that have been there, Mick Schumacher, I heard. You know more about him than I do, so I think, yeah.
I don't know if I know more. I just, like you said, there are rumors that he's talking to Alpine, but I swear there's another driver that they're talking to besides Mick, and I thought they were going to put them side by side. Like they were both going to be testing. Now I'm saying stuff and more stuff's coming back to me. But, maybe it was Kimmy and Mick.
That would be interesting.
And so they were going to be test driving a Mercedes. Oh, I hope this is right, but this is how I'm remembering it. And so they basically would be able to compare them side by side, their times. Because, Mick is a reserve driver for Mercedes right now. And maybe they want to see where he's at. We know Toto is also holding off on anything. He's hoping and praying for Max. But, so maybe that's what I was thinking. But Mick is being talked about in regard to Alpine.
Yeah, and then one of the fan sites, or I don't know if it's GP fans or one of them had said that there was talk during the Miami GP that both Ocon and Gasly both seemed not exactly 100% about staying in Alpine.
Yeah.
Which,
I mean, we already know there's been a lot of talk that Gasly is talking with Williams and obviously vice versa. So that seems like a pretty strong rumor. So, I mean, I don't blame them. I think, yes, they got their first points. I think Esteban is outperforming Gasly, and I think he did he last year also? But why stay? Like, the team as a whole seems like a hot mess.
yeah.
It seems like an absolute hot mess. Why would you want to stay while they still try to figure this all out?
And thinking how many races for them to get the weight down? I mean,
just the weight down, and this is round 7, and you let go of so many people in early March or early April, whenever that was.
But they've brought in people from Red Bull. So
shocking.
They have Michael Broadhurst and David Sanchez. And Sanchez is going to be, what is he going to be? They didn't say exactly what he was going to do, but Broadhurst is coming as the principal aerodynamicist. And he came with a Sanchez. Oh, and Sanchez is going to be executive technical director. So
okay.
Coming from Red Bull, so more bleeding.
They're trying to jump ship over there. But if you believe Christian Horner, because we know Toto and Zach Brown came out this past week or so and said, oh, all the CVs we're getting from Red Bull, everybody's jumping ship. And then Christian Horner was like, they should be more worried about I think he was talking about Mercedes, 200 people that we've taken from their team. So, yeah. Who knows what's what.
And it's interesting. There's not been much else about Red Bull. A little bit about VCARB, which I've got a couple quotes from your favorite Chatty Cathy. But yeah, not much else about them. And of course, all the stuff with Christian Horner seems to be swept under the rug. And
I just feel like it's probably moving through a process, and so and also like just the news cycle, people forget about it. They are over it. There's nothing new to report at this time. I hope that it's not swept under the rug. It needs to be fully investigated and needs to be, if it's true, then he needs to be held accountable. So
he needs to go.
Yeah.
But speaking of VCARB, there was some people are speculating because of Danny Rick and his not the best performance over in Miami. He did good in the sprint, but he didn't do well in the actual race itself.
Yeah.
Helmut Marko did a
interview. Shocking. What?
His weekly. They said his weekly
yes.
one, and he said, "This is a quote: the gossip that Ricciardo is being replaced is nonsense. Nothing is planned at all." However, he did say that he didn't completely rule it out in the future because he said, "We will, of course, look into this in the future."
Of course. Because you got to perform. That's the Red Bull way.
Yeah.
They are brutal.
And they're bringing some recycled carbon fiber in this weekend.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Who did that last year? I feel like somebody
McLaren.
did that. McLaren. That's right.
Yeah. Okay. They trialed similar technology in the U.S. Grand Prix last year. So they're doing that this year, which I think is neat. They're recycling and showing just more commitment. They're talking about more commitment to, being carbon neutral.
Okay.
So I think that'll
be good. And again, last year, McLaren, they were on a roll and they brought in that stuff and it didn't hinder them. So why not?
Not at all.
Yeah.
All right. Aston Martin.
It's
so cute.
He keeps moving, trying to get our attention.
Begging for pets. So Aston Martin, my team, just not a lot, just a lot of fun social media stuff, merch, competition, contests. There wasn't much going on this week.
Was a very quiet week.
Yeah, it's a very quiet week, except for Ferrari. Holy heck, your team.
Yeah, we got things going on.
You had so many team changes. No one left per se.
No.
Javi left a role, went to a new role.
Yes. But it's about time. Love you, Javi, but oh my God. We called for this last year.
Yeah.
Multiple times. Go back and listen to the podcast episodes, but it was time.
Yeah,
we are checking. Hopefully, we will not hear that saying for a while. We are checking.
They just said that he's going to other programs. How do they?
I forget where they
other important company programs was the important. company
in the basement. No, just kidding. No, so Javi is gone effective this weekend with Imola. And I think that's probably for the better. I just feel like, especially after last year, I don't know how much faith Charles has with him. I mean, Charles did put out a very nice post, and I think that, you know, they may do things here and there outside the track. So I'm sure their friendship is intact, but I just feel like on track, I don't know that.
I think they'll get a better, because it was Carlos last week, right? They just got the Sutton swap, right? Of his injury? Was it Carlos? Who got the Sutton swap last week?
No, Valtteri.
Valtteri, that was it.
Totally different.
Yeah, I don't know where my brain is. But at least this one has some days, because Javi's change is effective today, the 13th of May.
Okay.
That he starts his new role. So I'm wondering if that gives Charles at least a little more time to have conversations, some strategy meetings and whatnot prior to practice. Of course, it's not a sprint weekend, so they've got more practice.
Yeah.
So you're making that kind of change, make it a little. I still would love to find out what happened in Valtteri's and why that was such a change. Now to think about it.
I know. I want to know why now with Javi, like, why now? He's messed up many things for Charles in the past year. So why now? Maybe he wanted to step down. We don't know. But Brian Bozzi, is going to be taking on that role. So there might be a little bit of a learning curve, but you know, it gives a little, hopefully, some options.
And then speaking of the people coming from Mercedes, 2 people from Mercedes are joining Ferrari.
Yeah. It's just interesting.
So you have, what is it? The botched names, Loic Serra and Jerome de Ambrosio. So one is the chassis performance engineering, which you joked, did you want to from Mercedes chassis person?
Do we want anybody from there?
And the other one is a deputy team principal reporting directly to Fred. So I thought that was interesting. But he's going to head their driver academy. So the Maranello Mark's Young driver program. So that's what Jerome's going to do.
Okay.
And then Loic is working on overseeing various areas of also Maranello, including track engineering, aero development, aero operations, and vehicle performance.
Awesome.
So,
yay.
Speaking of Mercedes,
yeah,
they're bringing lots of upgrades. So what they said was that they only brought half the package to Miami.
Okay,
and they're bringing the other half into this race. It was kind of interesting reading the article. I'll read the quote. The quote seems a lot more positive than the rest of it. So their track engineering director Andrew Shovlin said, "We managed to pull forward about half of our updates to get to Miami, and the other half is going to arrive in Imola. We're working hard on future races to try and bring developments to them as well." But they still seem to feel like, changes are incremental. Like McLaren brought all these big changes and had this huge result. It was almost the reading between the lines was, we're bringing the other half, but don't expect it to be as big as McLaren's. Kind of like they always seem to be putting themselves down.
Yes.
So when they do great, they're like, "Oh, yay, check us out." But if they do crappy, they're like, "Oh, we told you so."
Yeah. Or like, we don't know. We're still figuring things out. I hope it is better. They're just so hot and cold.
Yeah.
They kind of finish up at the top, but then it's like, I don't know.
Yeah, it's interesting. Everyone's talked. I've heard a lot with like, wouldn't it be weird if like Lewis won a championship in his last year going out? It's not going to happen.
Not at this point.
Yeah,
Where's he even in the drivers' championship? Like,
I can't recall. He's
after.
pretty far down though.
Yeah, he's got to be.
So we can move on to McLaren. McLaren, lots of celebrating, lots of fun. A cute video watching, Lando bring the trophy. What I did hear though, when I was listening to that quote or listening to that event was, Zach Brown talking about how, they were going to start with a really great car next year or 2026. But next year. We're going to start with a great car next year or something like that because they keep increasing the cars, right? So it's almost like we keep getting better. They were the kings of upgrades or the masters of upgrades is what he kept telling the people there at the factory. So
they definitely have been. Last year, they needed that upgrade because it was awful at the beginning of the year, and then they killed it.
And you're expecting so much more at the beginning of this year. So I'm glad to see so early on it's picking up, and they really feel that they have a chance to win more this year. I think they do.
Yeah,
I really do.
I think they do. the safety car definitely helped. There were some things that helped, but for sure, Red Bull, I mean, now that we have 2 winners outside of Red
Yeah.
Bull in 6 races. So if Max has an issue or, something happens and people are ready to jump in and take advantage of that opportunity, we can
I
continue
think
to have
sometimes
more.
it's also that confidence and that it's possible versus they've had so many races of, it's just not going to happen. And
Yeah.
now it's like, oh, but it actually did.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
and even Max was so gracious about things happen in races. It can
Yeah.
happen,
Yeah.
you just can't.
He was, because he could have thrown a fit about the safety car picking him up and giving Lando more
Though,
kind of space.
except for he came back and it was like within seconds when it started,
Yes.
so, but.
No, it did.
But then again, I loved how he talked about the pole he knocked down. He goes, it needed to be gone. I needed to take it out. He was just so funny about all of that.
Max was great last weekend.
He was a crack. He was a crack up. And the only other thing I grabbed notes on this week was Abby pulling.
Yeah, she is killing it the last 2 weeks. Oh my gosh, 2 wins at F1 Academy. That was incredible.
Amazing. And the first female to win the British F1 championship. F4. I did say 1.
It would be amazing
4.
if it
That
was
would be
F1.
1, right? British F4 championship.
Yeah.
Isn't that amazing?
That's awesome. That's incredible. And in a whole other series, Indy Next, Jamie Chadwick, who races under Williams and has been with Williams for a long time, she was on the podium in their race this past weekend.
Yeah, I think they said she was the first win since, I forget how many years. Yeah, something like that for a woman. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's great to see. So exciting, but very exciting for Abby.
She's just killing it.
Yeah.
She's killing it. Well, that's all I captured for teams. I took the role of grabbing team notes this week, so it's kind of exciting. That's all I could find. So some fun other things, that F1 movie
that Brad Pitt is producing and starring in and
it's
writing, I don't know, directing,
whatever.
Yeah.
So they had a budget of $300 million. They're already well over budget. In the quote that I saw, the article I read, it's not quite Star Wars Awakens level, but they're still just outside the top 10 most expensive movies to produce.
Ooh.
And but they don't have a distributor, so there's no release date.
That's rough. It makes you wonder. I mean, how close are they to being done?
I didn't read that part, but I just don't understand how you can get that kind of money to make a movie and not have a distributor. I'm assuming close to done. If they've spent, they're saying they already know where their budget's at.
Yeah.
I mean, how do you get there?
I don't know.
Especially Brad Pitt behind it. How do you not have a distributor? And F1 being as hot as it is, so hot that, I mean, America's looking at potentially another track. You know more about this one. You read up on this one.
This came. We talked about this several months ago, that F1 registered Chicago a trademark. Months ago. And I was like, ooh, what's happening? And then nothing. And now the rumor is out that this has been finalized. It's going to be a night race in Chicago starting with 2026. So that would be the 4th U.S. race, the 4th added in, I mean, Austin's been the only one, except for 2 years ago we had, is it 2 years ago? Miami came on board. Then last year, Vegas came on board. And then 2026 would be the 4th city in Chicago.
Isn't that crazy?
So I think it's nuts. I don't think we need 4 races here. I just don't. And NASCAR did a race on the streets in Chicago last year. I didn't really watch it. It seemed like the few times I went past the channel, it seemed like somebody was always in a wall someplace and trying to get going again. I don't know.
Someone tweeted a picture of the potential circuit, and it was really interesting. It goes out over the water. So it would have to be a summer race.
How would it go out over the water?
Well, there's like a little island or something. I guess there's a track there, like right there into the lake. And I'm like, this is the Lake of Force Winds and everything. Like, it would be insane.
Yeah, the lake. It depends on the time of year they decide to do it. It could be very, very windy.
Could you? I mean, it is the windy city, right?
It is the windy city.
It would be absolutely insane.
Yeah, I would go because from that area ish, but like, do we need it? And I feel like if that is announced, and it's supposed to be announced within the next few weeks, I do think that especially the Europeans are going to lose their minds, and European fans are going to lose their minds. And I think that there's other places that they've talked about wanting to go back to, like South Africa and was it Thailand? I think was one, or the Philippines. I think it was Thailand because I remember thinking, "Ooh, Alex Albon that would be great." Oh, interesting. So I think, yeah, I don't know. I think people will be upset to add a fourth U.S. race when there's opportunities for other countries to either be brought back on the calendar or brought in altogether.
Germany. I mean, there's a German team.
Germany
there's the
could
2
come
tracks that
back.
are available.
Yeah. So I think when it's announced, just go watch the comments because people are going to lose their minds.
It's going to go crazy. It's going to go crazy. Just another little fun thing I found. Adrian Newey, going to keep his name out there. So Red Bull's, outgoing chief technology officer. He went. So people, I didn't realize this happened. So this past weekend was the historic Monaco Grand Prix.
Yeah.
And so during that, Adrian actually competed, and he drove his 1968 Lotus 468. He purchased it in 2014. And this is the 14th running of the event, celebrates the historic Grand Prix machinery. And he said they said he didn't really get a good start, but he finished 4th.
That's awesome. I wonder how many cars there were.
I don't know. I'm not sure about that, but it was really cool to think that, Adrian Newey's out there. Forget that a lot of these, some of the principals and the engineers and whatnot were actually drivers and, have been in motorsport as drivers as well. They've got that experience.
I know Zach Brown and him were caught walking the track together, so people are making a big deal. And Zach Brown does race in, races like this, so I don't know if he also raced, but a lot of them were there. George was in town with his family. Lando.
Yeah, Lando was there because I was thinking,
obviously.
Next time we go to Monaco, we got to make sure all the drivers are there so we can see them. Maybe that would be a fun time to go. And then before we cover the race track itself, so we are back to Imola, and it's considered a special return for a couple reasons. So as people who may remember, last year we were rained out.
Not just rained out.
Devastating rain. Floods, lots of life loss. The sport, though, F1 raised 1 million euros.
Oh, that's awesome.
That's and they say they're still recovering and whatnot. So that's neat. It'll be interesting to see.
The towns and stuff are going to need that.
Yeah. And this influx of this coming in and spending and the money, because so much money is brought in, as we saw from the dollar figures from Vegas, that this will be such a big boon to the economy.
Yeah. It was so sad last year because, there were some, the groups, the teams that go in ahead of time and start setting up the little paddock area and all that. Some of them were already there. Nick DeVries got stuck. Yuki was there, and he had gone into the town where he lived or stays and was helping to clean up the mud and everything else. It was very sad and very, very scary. So I'm so excited to be back.
So excited.
Yeah.
And the other interesting thing is the race that happens this weekend will be 2 weeks past the 30th anniversary of the tragic loss of Ayrton Senna and Roland Ratzenberger at that circuit.
Yeah.
Which is just
so awful.
It's so awful. But they've been doing a lot of stuff already for the memorials. So it started on May 1st. They hosted an event that was attended by thousands of fans. There's going to be a lot more tributes over the weekend, including Sebastian Vettel.
Yes,
will be there. He's going to be driving Senna's McLaren MP4/8. I don't know if I'm saying that right. It was the car Senna won his last race in 1993.
Oh, that's awesome. I love that Seb's going to be there and Seb's driving it.
I know.
That's
I'm excited.
amazing.
That's got to be a little nerve-wracking. And I didn't put up the slides because I only had a couple, and I guess I could have, but I've already missed it. But we will have at least we know of one special helmet, and that's one to honor Ayrton Senna.
And that's Pierre.
Pierre
Gasly has a special helmet. So yellow and green.
And it's got actually a picture of Ayrton on there, which is really cool. And that's actually, he's my partner's favorite driver, which is Ayrton Senna. He talks about Ayrton Senna all the time, so it's just.
He was amazing.
Yeah, when he watched it, younger.
Really amazing. But I also hope that, you and I talked about this earlier, but I also hope that Roland is not forgotten.
Agreed.
Because he tends to kind of be. He passed away the day before, and then Ayrton Senna.
It was during quali, was it?
I think it was during qualifying or practice or qualifying. And then it happened the next day for Ayrton Senna. So yeah, very sad.
Very sad.
Very
Yeah.
sad.
Now there's just the race. So you want to cover that? Because I think I've talked more than I ever have.
Well, you did all the work this week. So so we have 63 laps. It's an anti-clockwise. That just sounded weird.
Counterclockwise.
Anti-clockwise. I'm like, what is anti-clockwise? Counterclockwise. It's a very fast track. It is definitely built for speed. And I guess you have to be very brave to tackle the sweeping corners, the sweeping turns. They're very technical, the whole 9 yards. It's very narrow, so overtaking can be a little tricky. There's just one DRS zone, so I think Miami had 2 or 3, if I remember correctly. Yeah. So this one just has the one. Both Ferrari and V-Carb, I'm assuming V-Carb will still consider it a home race. You had said that's still on their website. Yeah. Maranello.
Farenza.
But Ferrari still, they consider it one of their home races also. So last time we raced there was 2022. Who won? Red Bull won 2. Lando got third. Yeah.
Lando.
I feel like either Charles or Carlos got beached. I don't even remember. I'm just happy we're back. And it's not a sprint weekend, and it's a back-to-back. So this is the first, and then we go to Monaco.
Oh, yeah, so, that's right.
Yay.
And then we're not too far off from Barcelona.
So excited.
So exciting. Well, that's it. That was not a lot, but still a lot. There's a lot of just info, I think, this week.
But
just updates. And so we'll be along next week. And then we get to be our last time recording together next week.
Yeah.
Well, at least until we see each other in Barcelona.
Yes. Exactly.
All right. Well, thanks all. It was a short one, but it was a fun one.
Yes. Bye.
Bye. Scooby says bye.
Just staring at.
If you enjoyed this episode and you'd like to help support the podcast, please subscribe and leave a rating and a review. To stay up to date with She Loves the Grid and get all the behind the scenes content, you can follow us on Instagram at She Loves the Grid and on Facebook at facebook.com/She Loves the Grid. Thank you for joining us for the ride this week.